Ali Velshi.
And I'm Stephanie Rule. We got some huge news in the Russia investigation at the end of the week. But for us, we're laser focused today on taxes. Republicans in the Senate rushed this tax bill through committee and onto the chamber floor, and they did it with almost no debate or deliberation.
We're not sure everybody who voted on it actually read it. It's another example of broken governance in Washington. The result is a tax bill that is so complex and far-reaching that not even they understand all of what is in it, which is where we start.
It is high time to call out all the lies and mistruths about the legislation. President Trump and the GOP said their tax plan was designed to benefit the middle class, not the wealthy. But analysis from the Joint Committee on Taxation and the Congressional Budget Office, two nonpartisan scorekeeping bodies within Congress, say just the opposite. And the lies, they keep rolling in. The president keeps saying his tax plan will not be good for him and his family. No. It's going to be great for him, superb for super rich families like his own. And when Steven Mnuchin promised that his Treasury Department would release analysis proving the great effects of tax cuts on economic growth, well, it turned out they did nothing. We're being deceived.
We're entirely being deceived. The CBO, one of those scores, you can take any measures you want. There have been a lot of studies of this. The CBO and the Joint Committee on Taxation are within Congress, but there are other agencies that have looked at this thing. Let's take the CBO score. By 2019, people making less than $30,000 are going to be worse off. By 2021, people making less than $40,000 are going to be worse off. And by 2027, everybody making less than $75,000 is going to be worse off, but 62% of the benefits of the tax cuts go to the top 1%. So again, you can like this tax bill for what's in it. You can't like it because it's good for the middle class.
And remember, Steve Mnuchin, he did it with the media. He did it when he saw different members of Congress, said, we are working on research and analysis within the Treasury Department to support the economics behind why this plan works. Well, guess what? New York Times reporting that there are people within whistleblowers within the Treasury Department saying, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, he never asked them to do that research. Those reports don't even exist. There is no analysis.
Now, typically, historically, big tax reform is hard, and it's actually been done with bipartisan support.
And takes months.
Long times, sometimes over a year to get this done. I don't really understand, other than a self-imposed deadline of getting some major legislation done this year, why we had this rush to do this. But it is really interesting to take a bill that is supposedly about tax cuts for everybody and make it this unpopular. 538 took an average of recent polls and found that the approval for this tax cut is at historic lows. Take a look at the Bush tax cut in 1990, the Clinton tax, Bush tax hike in 1990, the Clinton tax hike in 1993. There was greater approval for something in which taxes were being raised than this bill in which taxes are being cut. I think that's kind of amazing. When your tax cut bill is unpopular, you know you're doing something wrong.
People vote to get their taxes cut. And what I find stunning here is the deficit. If you take classic conservative Republicans, the deficit is a huge problem for them and always has been. And if suddenly those Republicans are changing their tune and saying, guess what? We don't care about the deficit. It doesn't mean anything to us. But they haven't. And the fact that this thing is going to blow through our debt, it's a problem.
And so typically we'd be happy to debate any tax bill on its merits. We enjoy doing this kind of thing. But as we've said, President Trump and the GOP have been marketing their plan on promises that don't hold up. And one of the most egregious ones is that the huge tax cuts that we're about to see won't cost the country a penny. So listen to this.